Hey Tyler, Woody, this is Travis, aka Sir Minus. Just wanted to let you guys know about how awesome that last episode was. And perfect timing too. I was just in Duncannon, Pennsylvania, up on Hawks Rock on September 9th. And about a half an hour to an hour away from Chickies Rock and the Albatwitch. No apples on me, but I might stop in town for a tasty snack and get some chains to drape over the pack. If you guys want to keep following everything I'm doing here, I'm on local dairy _ inspector on Instagram. And I don't know which is scarier, honestly, in PA is the Albatwitch, any of the other things you guys mentioned, or just the freaking rocks. Pennsylvania is they call it Rocksylvania for a reason, and it's a good one. Besides that, I mean, it's been awesome. I'm almost at 1,100 miles, the halfway marker. And I just got south, the southern Appalachians left. Sorry. One sec. Someone's coming down trail here. How's it going? What's your name? John? Oh, hi there. Is that a guitar on your back? Wait, are those silver strings?
Howdy, guys and gals. Welcome back to your favorite podcast, That Would Be Rad, a podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs, pre-internet mysteries, and raising our kids to be half as cool as we were back in the 80s. I'm your host, Tyler Bent. Wait, why did that hit so weird?
Yeah, I don't know. Got confused.
I'm your host, Tyler Bentz, and this is your other host,
Woody Brown.
Hey, pal.
Hey, man.
Man, I just froze up there.
Yep, you popped in from another dimension.
I stalled out.
That's okay. We're happy to have you, new Tyler. You're probably better than the old Tyler.
Okay.
Welcome.
Fake friend.
Yeah. So, man, Travis, thank you so much for sending us that audio. I mean, it's cool for us to think about the fact that you're out on that trail, sending us in real time, you meeting John the Balladeer.
Exactly. And just thinking about us day and night.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I'm kidding. You know what I thought, though, by the way? When he first did the bit at the end, the Silver John thing, I totally thought he was doing like a Johnny Appleseed.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, he made it even cooler with
Yeah.
Silver John. So
yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought he sold me. I thought he was really running into somebody out
I
there.
did too. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, is it gonna be weird? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, like we said last week, you got us on this run here of kind of digging in and finally making it happen in terms of talking about the cool stuff that happens, some of it in our neck of the woods, so to speak, but mainly up and down the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
So if you're a new listener and you didn't catch last week's episode, highly recommend it, because last week we talked about the terrifying creatures and cryptids that people run into, a bunch of firsthand accounts and folklore that occur on the Appalachian Trail. But this week, we're going to dive further into the spooky season as we gear up for October to be here. And we're going to talk about the paranormal and more haunting things that occur. So if you're unfamiliar, the Appalachian Mountains sprawl across about 1,500 miles from the rocky edges of Newfoundland down to the red clay of central Alabama. Now, that's just the mountains themselves. And they're one of North America's great ranges. Not just great in size, but this is something I learned, I guess, relatively recently, but they're also ancient. When you look at them in comparison to, let's say, the Rockies are really impressive at first look, right? They're just these jagged mountains that are so high up there. And when you look at the Appalachian Mountains, they're more rounded and they're smaller, but that's because they're older. They were formed more than 480 million years ago.
Yeah.
And they once rivaled these jagged Rockies in height before time and weather and everything sort of just made them into gentler rolling ridges that we know today.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard the statistics that our mountains are older than the rings of Saturn?
What? No.
You've never heard that?
Man, no, I've never heard that. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Maybe you told me that before. I just...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And also, I do think there's something to, if you follow them, those same kind of range, it goes on over into Ireland and the British Isles and stuff, which I think is fascinating.
And kind of threading through this wilderness is the Appalachian Trail. Mm-hmm. We talked about it last week again, but it's 2,200 miles of footpath, making it the longest hiking-only trail in the world. I didn't do it justice last week because I didn't let you know that it crosses 14 states from Georgia to Maine. Mm-hmm. And every year, millions and millions of people hike some stretch of this trail. But every year, some hikers bring back more than just sore feet and bug bites. They bring back stories. Strange stories, sometimes terrifying ones. Stories of ghostly figures, children who shouldn't be there, and fire-scarred strangers tied to tragedy. All right, one of the eeriest reports comes from a man named Brad Lane. He was backpacking solo near Catawba, Virginia. His nights were already restless. And if you've ever kind of been out hiking, been camping, you could probably relate. It's dark, it's nighttime, you wake up in the middle of the night because you hear something. Leaves crunching, something that sounds like it could be these gigantic footsteps, only to kind of peer out of your tent and see a raccoon eating the remnants of some food that you left behind. But one night, as he tended his fire, something stepped into view. A man, if you could call him that, reached out with a blackened, scorched hand towards Brad's pile of firewood. His red plaid shirt hung in tatters, burnt in great patches, and his beard glowed like dying embers. When Brad's eyes met the figure's vacant white eyes, the man bared his teeth and wrinkled his nose before vanishing back into the dark. Whoa. Brad says, I managed to collect a fair amount of firewood, and by the time nightfall came, I had a small fire going with a good collection of firewood piled beneath me. Under the reassuring light of the campfire, I started to become more at ease with the deafening silence of nature. I pulled a cigarette from my pocket and enjoyed a casual smoke as I put my feet up. When I tried to ditch the cigarette butt in my weakening flame, my throw was a little off and it landed outside the ashes. I got up to fix my mistake and to stoke the fire. When I turned around to go back to my seat and I saw this scorched hand in front of my firewood. He wore red plaid with large black burns tearing at his trim and a red ashy beard that smoldered at his face. He quickly looked up and his vacant white eyes connected with mine. He gritted his teeth and scrunched his nose towards me before quickly leaving the ring of firelight. I was shocked. I've never experienced a fear like it. I fell right onto my butt next to the flames. I looked out into the forest and saw nothing but dark shadows and unclear objects, a blank wall of nothing, of everything. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even yell, with no one to hear me but him, so I did what every red-blooded American would do. I packed up my things and got the hell out of Dodge. Sounds more like a yellow belly.
Yeah, that's a
I'm just
northerner.
kidding.
Yankee.
Shake. I'm leaving that in there.
You didn't grow up quite as redneck as I did, but
No.
anytime anybody exhibited any kind of sort of pansy or cowardly behavior, it was must be a Yankee.
Okay. No offense to the Yanks out there. All right. But also, be more strong.
Yeah.
Just be strong. Okay. By the time I made it to the gravel road, I was out of breath and dripping with sweat. I hastily chugged from my water bottle and wiped my mouth. Down the road, I could see a vehicle parked in the dust. I staggered forward with my hands on my sides and soon realized it was a sheriff's sedan, and for the first time in a long time, I couldn't have been happier to see the law. When I got closer to the vehicle, I noticed that it was parked outside of the remains of a charred house. Nothing left standing but the mailbox out front. On the way into town, I didn't tell the officer about my experience, being afraid that he might think I escaped from the loony bin, and instead asked him about the burnt-down house he had been parked in front of. The sheriff explained to me that 4 days prior, the same day I started my trip, the house had burnt down. They had no known cause, but there was an indication of arson. 2 daughters, a wife, and her husband were all in the house when the fire started, and none of them made it out. Real tragic stuff, the sheriff said, as he retold the story, and I could only shake my head with my bottom jaw hanging low. Brad didn't mention his fiery visitor, but he never forgot him.
Wow.
I mean, that is...
I mean, it feels exactly like your missing movie.
Yeah.
Like the...
the skinless...
Yeah, like the
thing.
Rawhead Rex or...
See, I thought you were going to say it kind of reminds you of my strange encounter back from the first Halloween special that we did back in season 1.
Which one?
You know, man, come on. The worst date ever. I'm up there in the mountains. Yeah. And honestly, we're right off of the road, right off of the Appalachian Trail, honestly. In my scenario. So technically, I should have added that story to this.
Yeah.
All right. This one is, again, another hiker. This one was camping in Amherst County, Virginia. And this is back in the 80s, actually. And he's with his son and their golden retriever named Ginger, which is a cool name for a dog. And they saw something strange kind of shamble out of the woods, and this is what they said. The figure came within 100 feet. The thing was tall and wore a dark brown, quote, fur coat. I was aware of Ginger's barking changing to something I had never heard from her before that event, nor after. Without thinking, I called out to the figure to come over and have some hot drink. That's when things got very difficult to explain. Because first, the creature turned to face us. Its face looked human in shape, but not human in appearance. It turned its whole body. When the creature looked at us is when Ginger's barking changed. Her hind legs appeared uncontrolled. Her sounds were not barking sounds, but almost a gurgling noise. She was in great pain. I momentarily focused on Ginger reaching down to her, which did not stop her suffering. I looked to the creature, who returned to continuing its long, athletic strides, taking it out of sight very quickly. Ginger then resumed barking her aggression warning, but not the same as before the thing had turned to face us. My son said, "Dad, what just happened to Ginger?" I was thinking, what did that thing do to Ginger when it was 100 feet away? I was not fearful, and Ginger was a handful of golden retriever. We spent a cold night with Ginger at alert the entire time. When we made our way to the warmth of my car the next morning, Ginger curled up with my son in the back seat and slept for the entire 3-hour drive home. I've since learned that that area had a fall and winter with dogs making a lot of noise at night, with a large number going missing. A calf got missing without a trace. The owner was uncommitted as to what was going on, but said his grandfather had a story about what they called the brown man. He had not seen anything, but neighbors had. Something dreadful happened at that shelter in August of 2011. A hiker was found dead and half buried. The man later heard that locals called this presence the brown man, and again, that same area would be later linked to missing dogs, vanishing livestock, and of course that dead hiker. So, was it a Bigfoot? Was it some kind of other creature? Not sure, man.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff reminds me of, I I can't remember. I mean, I feel terrible, but I can't remember if it was like Timothy Renner or Cutchin, but they sort of coined the term like wildergeist instead of like poltergeist. So it's like you imagine, poltergeist activity. Oh, it only happens in like haunted houses, but this is like, oh, well, what if it happens out in nature? It's kind of the same kind of thing. So it's like whatever is causing all that, like within the quote unquote haunted house, it's like in an area of the forest that the same kind of stuff kind of goes down.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to point at, oh, well, this was Bigfoot, but I think that's like, I don't know. I think that's probably, not quite the case a lot of the times.
Yeah. Phew. It's freaky. And the thing that sucks is like, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword here. We're talking about these scary stories and stuff while Travis is out in the middle of it. I know for me,
Right.
when I go camping, like I said, you wake up in the middle of the night because an acorn drops, but because it's so silent, you're so sort of removed from technology and people, you're out there in the wilderness. Every sound is then amplified in a sense,
Yep.
And because of that, it's like my sleep is kind of restless. Everything kind of wakes me up. I feel protective because my son is usually the one that's with me.
Yeah.
And I just, am just ready to, pounce on something dangerous. And I don't know, it brings this level of eeriness and it sort of creates this environment sort of, I don't know, perfect for something terrifying. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause it's just like the unknown,
Right.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off site-wide, plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no dead.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now back to our show. Okay, one story comes from a woman who was just 10 years old, camping with her parents in Pennsylvania. Now, her mom felt pretty uneasy from the start. The woods seemed heavy, and just something seemed off. In the morning, while walking near camp, the mom and daughter both spotted him. A hazy, transparent man leaning against a birch tree only 20 feet away. And they said, I looked up to my mother to notice that she was pale and her hand was tightly grasping mine. Todd, can we set up camp somewhere different? My mother asked, still clutching my tiny hand. She was not liking the vibe the woods were giving. I sensed it too. I can't put my finger on it. It was just something unexplainable, but I was afraid. My father shook his head. It's getting late. I'm not searching for firewood in the dark. Now, I can relate there. I mean, I'm just saying. She goes on, I remember asking to go home. The small clearing seemed to give an ominous vibe. After hot dogs and marshmallows, we crawled into the 6-person tent my father had purchased. My father fell asleep in mere minutes, but my mother and I could not sleep. Emma, are you asleep? I lifted my head. No, Mama, I'm scared. I can't sleep. Hush, it's fine, she said. We're safe inside the tent. I finally fell asleep and woke up in the early hours of the morning. I came out of the tent and saw my mother sitting on the ground, meditating. She meditated every morning with a cup of Earl Grey tea. I came up to her and tapped her shoulder. Mama, can we take a walk? Mother opened her eyes and got to her feet. Sure, let's not go too far, she had said. I don't want your dad to worry. We hiked near our campsite when my mother suddenly stopped. I followed her gaze to see a hazy image of a man leaning against a birch tree about 20 feet away. He was just a hazy image, but he did not seem threatening, just calm and solemn. He lifted his head and looked in our direction. I rubbed my eyes, and he was gone. My mother just looked at me, and I understood that the man was not threatening, just calm and sad. After that, I've never seen a ghost, but I will never forget him. Not ever.
Wow.
Yeah. It's something to me we talk about a lot when you go into the wilderness or into the woods, and you get that overwhelming feeling that something just isn't right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to explain. I think we talked about it last week, but I know that we've talked about it many times, that we think maybe that's just something that is a remnant of our ancient, human DNA.
Yeah. Like
back
fight or
when,
flight kind of.
Yeah, fight or flight. Back when, we weren't as protected. You think it's sometimes, I know this is probably silly to folks, but every now and then if I think real hard about something trivial, like I'm sitting in my living room, you're behind these reinforced walls made of brick or, wood framing or whatever, and just like rewind, a couple hundred years ago, and more, and life was just different. You're much more on edge. And then I think that's part of the thing when you go camping, there's just this little bitty thin layer of nylon between you and whatever it is that's out there. And so, all of your instincts and stuff are just kind of open and listening, and your senses are just activated, and I don't know.
You're kind of on like high alert.
You're on high alert, and that sense of dread, I think, it could be mistaken. You can be just kind of freaked out just because, you just got your normal anxiety that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Or it could be something that your ancient sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like
your ancient
ancestors.
instincts, right? That are maybe dormant, but until you get out there, are trying to tell you there's something, that sense of dread is a signal.
Actually, and one thing, I'm glad you said that, because I think there's, something that I brought up last weekend. We were sort of talking about, the possibility of, Sasquatch or Bigfoot, like maybe that there is a tie between us and them, and maybe that they are sort of part of our ancestry, but at some point along the way they sort of split off and went back into the forest. And so whereas we moved into technology and modernity, to them they're living in nature now. And so you think about like or what you were saying with us, how like suddenly we'll get like a feeling, and it's like, oh, something's not right. This isn't, something's going on. You don't know what it is. But in my opinion, I think that's that, like what you were saying, it's like this part of our like, ancient sort of code built in our DNA that's sort of activated when we're in these areas. Imagine like the even like, times 1,000 version of that with like these creatures. Like, so it's like, and we wonder like, wow, we put out all these trail cams and like we didn't get anything, but like I swear I saw him. It's like, maybe maybe they're so tapped in, hundreds, thousands of years, like living in that. They're so tapped in so that they can like audibly hear or visually, see like when there's like electrical devices. It's like, oh, this is like foreign, red flag, do not go near this thing. So yeah, I think that's interesting. It's like it's the idea that like that part of our brain is kind of activated when we go back into the woods, and it's like it I'm sure it just pales in comparison to sort of the built-in security system that they probably have.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's so many creatures, there's so many animals that exist that utilize other senses that we don't have. I mean, if you're thinking about the ocean, that's pretty easy. You've got like, the dolphins and whales that use sound to detect things, right?
Oh,
and so like what Tyler's talking about, that makes me think of
like,
infrasound. Even that, but like think about like a pit viper, right? They have those pit organs that basically they can detect infrared heat, you know?
Right.
And other animals, even like ticks, right? When they sense a higher concentration of CO2, it makes their
that's crazy.
It does something to like their legs to where it makes them drop essentially. And so, things like that. And so it's easy, I think, to think, okay, well, how convenient, your electronics messed up or they're not working or things avoided you because of that. Well, I mean, maybe they have built, like Tyler was saying, built-in senses that sense different wavelengths of energy, and they know to sort of avoid them because maybe the last time they interacted with those wavelengths, maybe it's, a learned behavior, meaning the last time they got close to something like that, they were hurt or they were scared off by a human, or take it even further back, maybe those wavelengths existed in some other way before humans or whatever, and they just, over time learned that that's just not where they want to be,
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I think that's a cool idea. It's something that's not too far from like a biological reasoning, which I love that stuff.
Yeah, like I don't believe in like sort of the more long, bigger scale evolution, but obviously there's sort of on like the shorter scale evolution, we're not talking about like a whale turning into like an elephant, like but like certain traits, like a bill on like a bird's like bill slowly becoming longer to like make up for this certain flower that, that whole kind of thing. And so I think this is kind of akin to that. It's like maybe it is sort of a short-term evolutionary, kind of ability that's grown through the years.
Yeah. And just to be clear, and I am asking it or not, I'm just saying this because I am voicing my confusion here, not to make you go down it and define it, because we got some cool tales to talk about here, and I don't want to stick on this topic too long. I don't know what you mean by long-term and short-term, but wait, hold on. But like, because for those differences to show up, it takes like a long amount of generations. So one of my favorite sort of, well, I say favorite, it's, this is a kind of a joke within my family. My brother, who's like a PhD geneticist, and then there's me who took genetics. And by the way, I was a biology major. I took genetics like twice and made a D both times. Okay, wow, so nice. When I say this is one of the cool examples of genetics and evolution and stuff, take that with a grain of salt. It's just the one that I remember. But I think it's a type of seagull that has like a red spot on its bill. Right. And when the baby like taps on it, the mom like regurgitates, it just tells them that they're hungry, okay? And using the example that you did too, like maybe a specialized shape of a bird's bill so that they can better, I don't know, get the nectar from the flower that they're getting. And all these moths that blend in and kind of look more like the pattern of house siding versus, another example they gave us was before the Industrial Revolution, there's a certain moth that was like a blend of gray and white. We'll keep it simple. At that time, there were more white moths than gray ones. Then after and during the Industrial Revolution, certain areas were covered in, a lot more soot. And those gray ones, there were more gray ones than white ones because the white ones were easier to spot by their predators, and so they were eaten more. And so the gray ones' lineage, would get passed on more frequently and stuff. So anyway, all that to be said, it's seemingly small amount of time, but it does take a long time for those traits, depending on the factors, to sort of like make their way, through time.
So, because you started off with a question.
What more of a statement. I just was confused. I don't know what you mean by.
Well, you said, what do you mean by? So that's the question.
Okay.
What I mean is, and of course I can't think of an example. And I know that that's like using the term like short term and long term sort of evolution is wrong. But what I mean is like, like you're talking about with these moths, or the like a specific like, hummingbird, their beak becoming longer so that they can reach into these flowers. I like, okay, say that's like over the course of like 1,000 years. That's still really long.
Yeah, relative.
That's a really long time. Yeah. I don't mean like a few weeks or a year or so.
Next week.
Next week, get another arm. No, but it's like, I'm talking about, the sort of to me, it's like kind of nuts. And I know I'm probably turning off a lot of listeners here when I say this, but when they're like, oh, well, this prehistoric whale is now in the form of a goat-sized wolf over the course of 10 to 12 million years. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know how that happens, but can you show me an example of this sort of mutation? Like this, can you show me examples of within the fossil record there being like, okay, here it's like
the in-betweens.
The in-between. And there's never any of those.
I thought you were saying like more along the lines of like, how dolphins are mammals.
No.
And that kind of thing.
No.
Yeah. That stuff is fascinating too. Like if you ever look at their bone structures and stuff, or like...
they're aliens, dude, for sure.
That always reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Remember like the dolphins were the ones that were just the more like... They were like the higher beings or whatever. Yeah. And remember they were just like, they started flipping and flying away.
Now, you know what's interesting, dude? There is like, I mean, we're driving away from the dock.
We were on the Appalachian Trail, now we're in the ocean?
Well, hold on though. You know that it's actually illegal. Well, let me say this first. So in the 60s, I think this is actually related to like maybe the...
MK Ultra.
Well,
I just made a guess.
You're not too far off. But like the Monroe Institute and like Project Stargate, I think that they were doing, I think one of the guys out of there was doing a ton of sort of experiments with dolphins. And they were showing like massive amounts of like cognitive awareness and, obviously they're extremely smart and like, we know all that stuff. Well, what's weird is like, apparently they did it for years and they had all these like crazy discoveries, and I feel terrible for totally just losing it on the name and the exact project and stuff. But apparently they made like a ton of progress and like discovered all this like kind of crazy stuff where like there was even like some sort of psionic abilities connected to dolphins. And then suddenly the program was like shut down, I believe, and several years later it made it a federal law that it was illegal to have dolphin. It's something really, it sounds weird, but it's something like it's federally illegal to have dolphins like
in your bathtub.
Well, like associated with like birth, like childbirth.
What does that mean?
Well, I think there were like all these tests to where like they were seeing that like small babies were there was some sort of like communication or something kind of like, I mean, it gets pretty fringe, but it is interesting that like...
You mean like in the same proximity of kids?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, like, let's just say you work at SeaWorld.
Right.
Don't
have a baby.
You and Sally just got married, and you're just basically saying, hey, she goes into labor and you're like...
Let's have it in the dolphin tank.
Yeah. But don't, is what you're saying.
but now it's not allowed.
Cue Noel singing, "So Sally can..." Okay.
Side note, with the evolution thing, I do believe that there is that sort of short-term appeal to, animals or, like these attributes, like sort of heightening or lessening to make them, better suited for their environments.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I totally
Survival,
believe
that's
that.
literally the survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was growing up, I was just like, I get it, man. I need to work out. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought survival of the fittest was. But that's not because I got a D in genetics. This was like when I was younger. Okay?
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to go on a break here so that Tyler can fill my ears with more theories about oceans and evolution.
Whales turning into
And Star
goats.
Trek 4, apparently. And when we get back, we're going to dive further into these paranormal and haunted accounts of the Appalachian Trail.
We will return after these messages.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. Futurama returns on September 15th, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama returning September 15th at 8 p.m. Watch it on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's a pretty cool place if you're a Martian.
Or a vampire.
You think you really know what's happening around here, don't you?
Is anyone out there?
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now, back to our show. This one's actually kind of a shorter encounter, but I'm telling you right now, you'll see. So, a group of hikers were woken up at dawn by the sound of children laughing. Now, okay, that's strange enough, but you're out on the Appalachian Trail. Maybe there's a Cub Scout group out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But these guys were pretty deep in the wilderness. Now, through the mist, they kind of get up, they get out of their tent, they see this procession of children wandering past. The children cheerfully ask these hikers what they're doing out there. And they said, well, we're just out here on the Appalachian Trail, hiking and whatever. In the middle of them telling and explaining that to these kids, the children started laughing. And they said, this isn't the Appalachian Trail. And then they just kind of vanished into the woods.
Ooh, I love that.
The hikers then swore that they heard laughter following them for miles afterward. And then they never saw the children again.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I don't know why we haven't done a full episode on this. Or maybe we have. The Green Children of Woolpit.
Yeah, I believe we might have mentioned them. I don't think we did a full.
Yeah.
I'm always wanting to.
Dude, yeah, we need to do that after the Spooktacular. Basically, for our new listeners and folks who have never heard of the Green Children of Woolpit, basically it's these two kids that sort of appeared, I don't know, hundreds of years ago in an area called Woolpit in England. And they literally had like green skin. It was a brother and a sister. I think the brother eventually died. They refused to eat. And they kept asking for like certain foods apparently that nobody knew what they were even talking about. I think the boy wouldn't eat, and so eventually he passed away. The girl eventually sort of adapted to whatever the diet was of the era, and eventually her skin started turning back to normal. But when they found them, similar to this, it's like they had no idea where they were. They kept They were asking for their parents. And they kept asking about certain areas or towns that didn't exist, which is just, it's so fascinating, man.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why we haven't done a full episode is we always kind of bring them in to like sort of stories that are somewhat almost adjacent to it, really. And this, I've always been somewhat fascinated, and we can blame it on, what's his name, Rudyard Kipling.
Jungle Book.
You know, the Jungle Book and the idea of like a feral child being found and stuff. I mean, gosh, even Tarzan and all that. When we were growing up, Legend of Greystoke. Greystoke?
Easy.
What is it? Legend of Greystoke?
Grayskull.
No, it's not Grayskull.
It is literally Grayskull.
Stoke. That's it.
You just
Legend of Greystoke.
You made that up.
No, it is not. Greystoke, the Legend of Tarzan, man. It's got freaking...
Yeah, when he holds his sword up and he says, by the power of Grayskull.
Stop. You didn't know that it was I can't even Greystoke.
Move it along.
Having a stoke.
Moving along.
Moving along. Anyway, we need an episode about that where it's just...
Us, our mistakes.
No. Just like that feral child being found kind of thing. Those stories are interesting because did those kids, did they come from another dimension? And they were talking about places that weren't, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the man from Tarid and that kind of stuff, you know. That.
Although the laughing,
that's freaky.
That gets into sort of like, to me, that feels very sort of like fae, trickster, sort of
terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, and we're back to the Inukin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they said children, but maybe they were little people.
Well, the children thing, that's, I mean, as you know,
kind of offensive, but
the disembodied voices. We haven't brought that book up in a while, but
I feel like we have.
I'm sure we have. Probably last episode. But the disembodied voices, like the sound of like children, and usually it's like children crying.
Yeah.
So it sort of activates that, like, oh, I got to go protect this helpless thing. But I feel like when there's sort of the laughter, it feels a little darker.
Yeah. And just because maybe we haven't, or we have brought that book up and just kind of like rushed through it real quick, a couple quick things. Number one, I promise you, we are not paid to promote this book. It just so happens to be one of those books that I read, instantly became obsessed with it, and instantly have been trying to get Tim Marchenko on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Things just don't line up. And but I'm telling you right now,
it's so good.
You have to buy this book. It's called Disembodied Voices.
Yeah.
By Tim Marchenko. It's available everywhere. I don't know. I think I got mine on Amazon.
Yeah.
It is one of the best books I've ever read, and it dives so deep into this idea of things luring you into their grasp, basically. And it's just terrifying. And he spent so much time researching all around the world, too.
Yeah.
And, you know, we love that.
Oh,
so you got to go and get that book. Now, on to the next one.
So good.
In May of 1972, a lone hiker found himself kind of engulfed in fog all of a sudden. Out of it emerged a tall figure in a heavy coat and a wide-brimmed hat. The stranger looked lost, distracted, until he raised his head. The hiker looks up and sees a pair of icy, electric blue eyes. He realized then that the man's clothing was decades, maybe even centuries out of date. He attempted to greet him, but the figure just walked past him in silence. When the hiker turned to look again, the man had vanished.
Wow.
You know, little short accounts like that, I think, are almost just as terrifying as the longer, more detailed ones.
Yeah.
Because if you're picturing yourself, or you're putting yourself in Travis's boots, for example, just imagine being out there on the trail. Now, I'm sure Travis has run into other hikers. When we're on the Appalachian Trail, I've run into other groups, and it's fun because you get to know them, you know, and for the most part, the community is really, really cool.
I've heard
You're not running into too many jerks. But there's scary stuff that happens out there, and there's bad guys, right? And so there's still, for me especially, because I watch true crime stuff, there's still this like edge of, I don't know. I'm just kind of like,
Weary.
ready. Yeah, ready to pounce if I need to.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is near, it's up further north in the Appalachian Trail, near Pierce Pond, Maine.
I mean, does it feel weird to you that, like, I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong on this, but it's like, for some reason, when I hear Appalachian Trail, I just think of like sort of south to mid United States.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
No,
it feels
not me.
weird to hear it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, man, that it goes all the way up to Maine.
Yeah.
Anyway, this story happens in Maine. And this is where a camper was spending some nights out in like June. And so far, so good kind of thing. He's out there. Everything's perfect. And then it kind of changed a little bit. And this is what he said. He said, I've always thought that there were logical or scientific answers for all of these paranormal phenomena, and probably always would have, if not for the 2 nights I spent at Pierce Pond in June. Both nights were exquisite in temperature and weather, and no bugs, which at the time I found quite odd. In hindsight, it seems pertinent. I was alone, had a great campfire, and played my harmonica and sang the first night. Now, let me just stop right there for a second. Look, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I like to sing. I like to play.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be kind of just sitting by the fire by myself in the middle of nowhere and just being like, check out this tune, Woods.
Home on the range.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
I wouldn't either.
I'm not saying he was doing any drugs, but okay. So back into it. As the embers dimmed, I sat on the edge of the lean-to, writing in my journal as the night sounds started to get my attention. They were just different, the sounds, I mean. And I knew someone or something was about. I could just feel it.
There it is again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Through the moonlight, I could see something that kind of took me aback, and I sat still as possible while trying to slouch into my sleeping bag. There is no doubt it was a figure that was moving across my sight between me and the pond. It was definitely the form of a spectral, woodsy outdoorsman type with a small pack and what appeared to be fishing gear. The figure faded into the night, and I woke refreshed and relieved to be on the trail in such a beautiful location. I thought about heading out, as my first experience like this had me a little unnerved, but the day was beautiful, and I mostly forgot about it as I stayed on to enjoy another day. But as my campfire lit the trees around me that night, this same woodsy character reappeared, and as the fire crackled, its eyes turned toward me, and I was truly frightened for the first time in my entire life. Privileged. And I ran up the hill away from the lean-to and didn't stop till I could barely breathe. I finally had to slump down next to a tree and wait for the morning. When daylight came, I found my way back to the lean-to, packed up, and went to Tim's for pancakes. And shout out to him.
Yeah.
And told him of what I'd seen. He'd heard of this too. It seems for years, this vision has been haunting a wide area of Maine, although he was unsure if it had ever caused any trouble. Now, here's what's interesting about this one. So many times, anytime we've had sort of any kind of paranormal story, especially not necessarily outdoors, but specifically to, ghost stories and stuff, you never really hear about one, at least I can't recall, or I can't think of one, where they're like wearing like somewhat more modern clothes, like they got the full gear, like fishing gear and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost feels like, I know growing up in the 80s, the answer is always like, oh, it's just the ghost of someone. But it kind of feels like, what if this particular area is kind of like a window area, and it is just like a regular dude that we're just kind of seeing over in that next sort of reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And another thing that I thought of when you said that was, because I think that's a common gripe against ghost stories in general. It's like, well, how come you never see one holding an iPhone? Well,
right.
Maybe for whatever reason, and of course this is like, yeah, it is kind of convenient, but hold your horses. Maybe, if we're in tandem and parallel with other alternate realities or universes or dimensions, whatever, maybe those walls or the things protecting us from kind of merging into those are a lot stronger the closer you are to them in timeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say? Okay. I mean, that's just something that kind of I thought of as a way to sort of explain why we might not see,
Interesting.
a ghost. Because it is kind of weird. Like, why don't I see somebody from, why isn't Kurt Cobain floating around,
Yeah, I mean, and I remember like the topic. I remember hearing about this on like when I first started getting into podcasts. I mean, this would have been, literally
like
probably
a year or two ago.
Yeah. No, I've been on the podcast train pretty early. Like back when it was like Darkness Radio, which was an actual radio station, I think in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That also just happened to be a podcast. And then Jim Harold's Campfire and Jim Harold's Paranormal podcast. And then Mysterious Universe kind of came shortly after. But those were like the only ones at the time. And I do remember that there were a lot of like guests that would come on and they kind of had that same question of like, well, why is it that like we only see the ghost of like, Victorian sort of, it's like that era, that sort of Gothic Victorian. And I mean, I think because it lends itself so well to like us just sort of, that style of dress and architecture, it just appeals so like great with like a ghost story, like creepy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it does kind of, and the other thing is like, I'm midway through reading Fourth Wall Phantoms, Joshua Cutchin's new book. And it's interesting because now I'm I mean, you and I have talked about the same concept for years, that sort of merging of reality and like tulpas and thought forms. But now that I'm reading this, it's like, it is interesting that it's like in the front of my brain that I'm starting to like think of things in that way. So it's like, well, maybe we're only seeing these sort of like Victorian style, ghosts because we've sort of already created that. And so
like maybe somebody like in like writing and stuff talked about that and then
maybe
that or something. Okay.
Yeah, it's like we're the ones that are sort of like, I mean, not to get new agey, but like manifesting them.
Okay.
Like we're kind of, and it's kind of the thing we've talked about with like aliens and UFO abductions and stuff. It's like maybe we're putting like the skin on the thing because that's what we sort of expect to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of like how the, it went from like sort of fairy abductions to sort of weird vegetable aliens to like space brothers from Venus to the alien greys. It's almost like maybe it didn't actually, they didn't change as we changed. We're just like sort of, our brain is like sort of wrapping them like with what we think they should be.
In the zeitgeist skin, basically, right. Yeah. I mean, I like that idea. I also like the idea that it's just a bunch of different things visiting at a bunch of different times.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the more fun.
Yeah,
sort of.
That's probably like the hey, he's definitely a newbie to the world kind of thing, but it's just the one I like the most.
Well, but honestly,
or time travel.
I mean, that's kind of. I mean, my favorite sort of explanation for all of this is. And I've mentioned it 1,000 times, and every time I say this, that like I cannot remember where exactly I heard it from. But it's the girls in their grandparents' house when they're playing a board game, and the door opens and they see what looks like a ghost, and then years later, when she's grown up and her grandmother had died or her mother had died, and they're packing up the house, and she opens the door and she sees what looks like the ghost of two little girls on the floor playing the board game. And so I like the idea that like maybe this camper that's kind of just beyond the fire, maybe in his reality, he's seeing some weird ghost playing the guitar.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to him, that weird ghost playing the guitar is also kind of like ethereal and wispy, and he's just kind of seeing it through the veil kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually love that stuff too, because like in some other universe, there's a group of podcasters or something being like, yeah, and then one day I was fishing and I walked by and all of a sudden I see this crazy playing harmonica, but I couldn't hear the music. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff is so cool.
Oh,
man.
yeah, that's the best. Yeah.
All right. This next one, actually, there's a bunch of stuff that sort of occurs in a concentrated area. You know, last week, but all the time we talk about West Virginia just being like a hot spot for everything rad and strange, UFOs, cryptids, all this kind of stuff. Well, finally, we're going to go to another area that seems to be another place where just a bunch of strange stuff happens. And that is a place called Roan Mountain. Road. So Roan Mountain straddles the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. It stands at about 6,200 feet. Its ridgeline stretches across 5 distinct peaks. And the Appalachian Trail snakes along its crest, brushing through Pisgah and Cherokee National Forests, cutting across Roan Mountain State Park, and passing through the largest grassy bald in the entire Appalachian Range. It's a place of just absolute raw beauty, rolling meadows, endless vistas, but it's also a place, like I said, full of strange accounts. For centuries now, Roan Mountain hasn't just been known for its scenery. It's been haunted by music.
Yeah, I've heard of this. I can't think of like what exactly, but I think this is another one that's like, you know, there's either a lot of like Bigfoot sightings or...
Well, just get ready, man.
Okay.
As far back as the early 1800s, settlers and explorers whispered about hearing a choir on Roan's heights. Not the Sunday hymns of a church choir, but voices floating on the wind, changing depending on who was listening. Some claimed it was the most beautiful sound they had ever heard, angelic voices accompanied by the faint strains of harps, but others swore it was the opposite, horrific shrieking, chaotic screeching, the wails of the damned. Cherokee and Catawba legends held that the mountain itself was sacred, a place of battles, and some believed the voices were the spirits of those who had died there. Others thought it was fairies, and then there were those who said flat out that it was the devil himself, whispering up from the depths. Local historian Jennifer Bauer sums it up. She said, if the mountain music of the ghost choir was heard, wind was blowing very hard. People have reported great fear. Those who came across these sounds on Roan Mountain had different takes on what they might be. Some people thought the sound was fairies. Others thought the mountain music came from the spirits of Cherokee and Catawba Indians, who many years ago fought on top of the Roan. But others interpreted something more menacing. Other people felt that what they were hearing was the mountain actually talking to them. Some people took them as very evil messages. It felt like the devil himself had come up from the depths below to find them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really do like the idea of, and I don't know why this is. I don't even think I've ever said this on the show, but there is something that's so appealing to me about just that very vague way of saying, oh, I think it was just the mountain singing to you. It's that like elemental spirit of the forest, that like kind of, it's a very broad, vague kind of thing, but I don't know. I always kind of gravitate to that. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. It just reminds me of like old timers kind of talking about it and stuff. Something that you would hear somebody say, when you got maybe a bag of chips before you headed back out on the trail, you know? It also reminds me a little bit of, I was reading this book series and it was this, this centaur, it like lives in the woods. It's a fantasy novel series or whatever by R.A. Salvatore. Or Salvatore. If you like. And there's people in these communities would always hear this like faint music in the air. and it was a centaur. Basically, it was like the guardian of the woods.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff that reminds me. And then that takes me back to what we talk about every time we talk about these ancient mountains, like the Appalachian, the Appalachia.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, basically, that this mountain range is said to have stretched across over to Ireland and all that. So perhaps before the land was divided by vast amount of water and ocean,
right?
Some of those beings were, you know what I mean? And so maybe that's what their Fomorians were out there playing their pipes, playing their harmonicas all by themselves.
No, I love that. I think that's awesome. I also think that, like, we talked about it before, but it's that idea that, like, I don't know, there's so much sort of like thought and so many stories and folklore and folktales and urban legends and stuff have sort of been, pushed on like Ireland and Scotland and England and stuff. And I don't know, maybe it like sort of powered like the whole like mountain range. And so it's like, it's almost like vibrations like have rippled across the ocean into our continent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just really interesting. The other thing that I thought of too is when you were talking about, some people believe that it's like, spirits, from people that have passed on, or kids, or like, that kind of thing. It's like the second shout out for Joshua, well, maybe third for Joshua Cutchin on this episode, but he has a book called Ecology of Souls. And I have to admit, I have not read it, but I think he...
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
The American work ethic demands a hard-working power grid. For nearly 140 years, Siemens Energy has been driving America's energy expansion. Our expertise and broad portfolio supports a stronger energy system. Today, our equipment helps generate 25% of U.S. electricity. From coast to coast, Siemens Energy is building a more robust and reliable U.S. grid. Let's make tomorrow different today. Learn more at SiemensEnergy.com.
Draws a lot of parallels to with death and near death and after death sort of out of body experiences. He ties a lot of that stuff together with fairies and paranormal sort of supernatural kind of stuff. So it's just another reminder that I've got to read that one too.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll return after these messages.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab, LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and save an additional $1,000 when you buy 4 select LG major appliances. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5 amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt max tool. Get the job done for less at Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 9/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
America's future can be determined by our dreams and our visions.
It was very intense, bright light.
For over 200 years, there have been reports of giant man-like creatures.
From another dimension, another world, I don't know.
The most intriguing mystery on the North American continent.
This is Joshua Cutchin, and you're at my home for weirdness. That would be rad.
So for decades, only a few hunters and wanderers kind of heard this ghost choir. But in 1878, a Union officer, Colonel John T. Wilder, built the Cloudland Hotel that's right on the ridge. And then suddenly tourists were kind of flocking in. And with them came more reports.
Yeah.
One guest, a man named, the names back then, dude, Laboral, okay? His name was Laboral.
Wow.
Heard the voices and foolishly decided to track them. He was caught in a sudden storm and had to duck into a cave. And that's when he said, enough. Dude, keep in mind, this is 1878, okay? Yeah. He goes into this cave. And just imagine the kind of storm that would have made him like, I got to find shelter. Oop, there's a cave there. I'm going in here.
Yeah.
The cave wall split open into a kind of portal.
Wow.
Out marched a procession of ghostly figures, skin hanging in tatters, jagged teeth, glinting as their song turned into screams of pain. Laboral reportedly fainted. I guess he's related to Tyler.
You?
And when he, dude, I don't know what episode it is, but when you fainted out on the golf course. Anyway.
Well, that was a fake fainting, though.
Yeah, but
I did that on
that
purpose.
Or like the orbs are coming, my tears. And when he woke up, his clothes ripped to shreds.
Okay? Dude, we've already established for our longtime listeners that I'm missing that like fear
No.
part of my
It's
DNA.
not the fear part you're missing. The part that I have that you don't, it's just called,
fear.
Like sense.
Cowardice.
Common sense.
Yellow belly.
Okay, let me keep going, man. Another guest, this guy, he's a geologist, Henry E. Colton, described the sound of these voices, this choir, as the humming of 1,000 bees.
Dude, the humming
I know.
noise.
I knew you would like that.
Yep.
Hold on. He chalked it up to friction, maybe electricity in the air, and skeptics today often point to the fierce ridge-top winds as the cause. But here's the thing. I knew you were going to like the bees part.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about that strange humming sound and its association with, well, a lot of things, actually.
Abductions.
Some
Bigfoot sightings. They think it's like an infrasound.
Yep. Some people report like a large amount of missing time.
Yep.
You know, with that sound.
Yep.
And then I know that we've talked about this before because we got into how that's what the girl from Outlander hears before she time travels.
I've never seen Outlander.
I've never seen it. My wife, I only know that part because my wife was like, actually, you guys would like this aspect
Courtney
of it.
said the same thing.
And she knows I like time travel and stuff. So I she kind of gave me the breakdown. I never watched it, never read it, but it does sound interesting.
It does kind of, but I've seen like a little bit just going to bed while my wife was watching it, and I absolutely hated it.
Well, there you go.
But I will say, when we did the episode on the Comte de Saint Germain, apparently in season, I don't know, maybe season 2? I don't know. But one of the seasons features the Count of Saint Germain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they're sprinkling, that author sprinkles that kind of stuff into there.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing that it reminds me of too is, which, I mean, to me, this is such a strange case, the Dyatlov Pass incident, which we did cover on a show.
I mean, kind of, right?
I think we did a full show on it.
Full episode?
I think we did.
About the students up on the thing?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we did. Because we did like a pretty big breakdown, I think, on it. I could be imagining.
I might just erase that whole thing because I don't remember it at all.
But one of the things, I mean, the thing about that case is it's so strange. There's so many elements of high strangeness that just don't really make sense. But one of the things that they do talk about is apparently like the way the wind kind of like ripped through there and like it created like some kind of like funnel, and there was some kind of term for it. I can't remember. It was some kind of like audible something vortex or something where it kind of like creates this weird like sound like effect, which sort of puts your body into a fight or flight sort of mode because of the sound, the way the sound is like is on your body and your brain. So I do wonder if there's an element of that, kind of tied into this.
What's interesting about that, man, and I don't know if we brought it up, or I brought it up, I should say, when we talked about that, but the only time I've ever felt so strange because of sound was actually at a Cold War Kids show. They played this song, and I swear they must have tuned their down so far. I mean, drop C or something. And because the bass player, no. The bass player.
Cool, thank you.
Cool, man. Yeah, I didn't get the invite.
I didn't know you went to a deer antler show.
Yeah. So, like, the bass player was playing this one note, and I'm not joking, man. My entire body, it felt so weird because it was just like my whole body was just like because of that frequency. Yeah. And it made me feel off. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like, dude, are my insides going to turn into one giant gelatinous goop? You know?
I mean, they say that it's like sound technology, like the military's had it since like the I don't know 50s with like the brown note and stuff, or it would cause people to like vomit or like their bowels would like just go nuts and
not a good day, Hey,
not
man,
a good day
hey
at all.
Tim, what happened? Bowels went nuts.
Well, I know that I'm getting this wrong. I know for a fact it's not.
I believe you.
Okay, I know it's not. Anyway, back to evolution. So,
oh gosh,
no, I know it's not Joy Division, but for some reason that's in my head right now. I feel like it's older than this, but there's like this urban legend that there was a show, and again, I don't think it's Joy Division, but there was a show where like I guess the venue maybe where they were like trying out this sort of experimental like tech, and so when they hit like a specific note, it like freaked everybody out or whatever. I do fully believe in that. Like there's a thing called the Havana syndrome, I think they call it.
Okay.
And it happened in Cuba back in the 90s, I believe, where all of these sort of politicians and dignitaries came in, and all within like the same second, they all like, I mean, not all of them, but like tons of them just started profusely like vomiting, intense like anxiety, just like freaking out, like I got to get out of here, that kind of feeling. And, years later, they believe that some government, a lot of people point to the U.S. for this, but some government was like testing like that sort of sound
tech,
which is
wow,
pretty wild. I mean,
moving along here, because the mountain strangeness doesn't just stop with these ghostly hymns in the air. At the base of Roan Mountain, along Dark Hollow Road, sits a decrepit little cemetery. Most graves are unmarked, overgrown, and long forgotten, but one grave, marked Jenkins, comes with a story. At the turn of the century, Jenkins was carrying on an affair with a woman named Delinda, and she was kind of infamous for her infidelities.
Cool.
When Jenkins was shot dead, some say by his wife, Delinda vanished without a trace. The legend is that she crawled into his coffin, letting herself be buried alive with him forever. Now, drivers passing that cemetery report that their cars will be like rocking or bumping, pushed almost by unseen hands. Locals say it's Delinda, restless, searching for Jenkins, even now.
Wow.
Then, this one's crazy, man. There's a story of the ghost bull. Back in the early settler days, a wealthy rancher known only as the Baron brought a herd of cattle to Roan. Among them, one enormous, mean-spirited bull that terrorized anyone nearby. Locals believed the Baron kept it deliberately, a weapon to chase other ranchers off prime grazing land. Eventually, though, someone had enough, and a shot rang out, and the beast dropped near the summit. Too heavy to move, the Baron left its carcass to rot on the mountainside. But apparently, it didn't stay gone, man.
Wow.
To this day, people claim to hear the bellow of a bull echoing through the meadows, or worse, they see a spectral bull charging at them, vanishing into a cloud of mist just before impact. And now this one I think is probably going to be your favorite.
Okay. Well, one
go
thing.
ahead.
Let me say something though. I do love those stories where, and it does feel like a time thing. Like I remember when we did the episode on the Foxfire book.
Yeah.
That I got, and I don't know if we even, I don't know if we read that one, but I know there was an encounter where, right around some certain time, I don't know if it was like every night or every few nights or whatever, the guy could like stand out in his front yard and you could hear like from, way off in the distance, you could hear what sounded like horses and a wagon just like hauling it. And he said that like you would never see anything, but you would just hear this like audible, like, horse-drawn wagon just like hauling it down this like dirt road. And it would just start on one side and go all the way through. And I think he said that one night he stood in the middle of the road and the same kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, you never would see anything, but it was just this audible thing. So it's like, I like the idea of like a bull or like random sort of objects, like it not always being like just like a person.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
That is cool. Yours, the one with the wagon or the cart or whatever, that just makes me think of parallel kind of area.
Yeah.
All right, this one, and we've talked about stuff similar to this. Within the woods, people will see and often see these lights, strange, bobbing orbs seen along the ridges and the forests of Roan Mountain. One modern hiker recalled camping with a friend when everything in the woods suddenly went silent. No frogs, no insects, no night sounds. Then a glowing orb appeared, swaying like a lantern carried by an unseen traveler. It circled their camp, then floated back down the trail and disappeared. When the men investigated, they found the trail to be deserted. No hikers, no signs of hikers, no tricksters, footprints, anything. When they returned to their car, every interior light was on, even though the vehicle had been locked the entire time.
Wow.
So they packed up their stuff and left that night, right then and right there. Yeah. So all in, the Appalachian Trail isn't just home to strange encounters. It's lined with places steeped in haunted history. A quick list here, Travis, just in case you get to visit them, but just anybody that wants to, dip their toes into haunted world of the Appalachian Trail. There's a place called the Punch Bowl Shelter in Bluff Mountain, Virginia. And apparently, a young child died a century ago there, and hikers report seeing the ghostly child kind of just wandering around searching the woods.
Get in there, Travis.
There's another place called Sarver Cabin in Virginia, and it's this crumbling 1850s ruin haunted by a ghost named George, who makes his presence known to all who pass. Then there's Big Ridge State Park, Tennessee, and the Hutchinson Homestead. It's said to be haunted by a ghost of a little girl named Mary and the spectral hound that announced her death. Lastly, you've got Spook Hill and Fox's Gap, Maryland, and this is an area where these bloody Civil War battles and the soldiers are basically apparitions. They're still seen, and where parked cars, this famous stuff happens all the time, but the parked cars are said to be pushed uphill by ghostly hands, leaving phantom prints behind. Now that reminds me of my situation too. So,
well, that's like a Gravity Hill thing. Growing up in the 80s, that was such a big
everywhere.
Deal. And then but I do remember also, and I think I've talked about it. I remember there was one in Athens to where, because my dad lived in Athens, and I remember there was
allegedly.
I have a dad, but you could park on a railroad track crossing. Yeah. And they said if you put baby powder, I mean, this is so common. I'm sure every person listening had something like this
in their town.
Yeah. And you would feel your car getting pushed off the railroad tracks. And the old urban legend was there was a bus full of kids, and it stalled out, and they were hit by a
train came or whatever. Now, what does the baby powder do?
Well, the baby powder, you put it on the back, and when it's done, you can see all the handprints.
Okay, gotcha. I just didn't know. It's just you put your baby powder on there, and you can see a cloud of it moving.
You pour it all over.
Okay. No, but it is scary to think about. You're starting to dump the baby powder, and then you see spectral hands. No, seriously. The powder lands on hands that aren't there. That's kind of freaky.
Now that is
what I mean.
Creepy. Yeah.
I mean, every week we're giving people ideas.
Gold.
Okay. So, in conclusion here, what do we think about these mountains? Are they simply just old, soaked in so much sort of story and history, blood and battles? Or is there something in the bedrock itself, something that pulls the strange to it, almost like a magnet? Or is this just a line of window areas, What is it? Whatever the answer is, I think that the cool thing is it is far enough away from modern civilization that if things exist, and if people are truly seeing these things, then this is a place to kind of see them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were sort of talking about before, and you said something that I thought was interesting, where you had said, I think it was the Rowan place, there were always sort of tales of stuff, and then they had an influx of people move into the area, and there was the sightings just kind of exploded. And so is it on the one hand there's more people, obviously, so there's more eyeballs to witness the weirdness, or B, the more sort of strange possibility is that maybe with this new influx of people, maybe they're also bringing their own folk tales and urban legends, and and they're just kind of pouring that into the area. So it's some of the stuff is just sort of I mean, again, I hate to use the term manifesting, because I think it's so cheesy when you use The Secret and that kind of stuff. But I do think that there is something like to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny that you say that because if you think about it, if we kind of theoretically may have the power to create these crazy creatures that survive, time and all this, and become legend, then I mean, technically, a potential I don't know if you want to call it a weaker version of that would be maybe you can manifest good things in your life, like The Secret. Now, I'm not trying to, get a paycheck from whoever wrote The Secret, but I'm just saying that
his name is George
same power,
W.
man.
Downing.
I mean, that we're talking about. So it's you can't really.
I mean, I think I just I just don't love it because I've heard so many sort of new agey podcasts, and it's like, oh, you got a manifestation, and you got to raise your vibration and your consciousness, and it's like, what's funny is I kind of agree with a lot of it, but it's it's sort of the language and the delivery just feels so cheesy. But I do, going back to Cutchin's new book, Fourth Wall Phantoms, I do think it's definitely a thing. It's something that we've always found fascinating. And actually, I think we even brought it up when we were talking to when Cutchin was on the show. I don't know if it was on the episode or we were just kind of talking before, but the idea of like Alan Moore or Grant Morrison or the guy that wrote The Shadow, or not it was The Shadow, where they started seeing like Alan Moore's in a bar and he sees John Constantine, this character who he's created, and he kind of walks and he winks at him, and then he puts the cigarette back in his mouth and he walks past him around the corner. And then what's really interesting, and I didn't know this aspect of the guy that wrote The Shadow, and I feel like such an idiot for not knowing his name offhand, but he wrote this book, and what's weird is years later, so I think he started writing this stuff in the 40s or 50s. And then around the 60s or 70s, his old apartment became kind of this famous location for ghosts, basically. It became known as this this haunted room, and there was all this speculation of oh, well, it was, this person was killed there or this and that. And he was interviewed later, and he was like, no, there were no ghosts there. This was just how did he explain it? He's like, this is a psychic projection of when I created the shadow. So now he lives there because that's where I created him.
Weird.
And it's that idea.
It's kind of freaky, man.
It's so fascinating, though. And it is weird because the witnesses that lived in that building, they all would claim to see this sort of, this figure that would kind of disappear into the shadows, and he had a wide-brimmed hat. And so they were all very much in line with they were seeing the same thing.
Walter B. Gibson is
Walter
his name.
B. I thought Gibson was there. I kept thinking Charles Dana Gibson, but
just imagine him just being in he's just wandering out of his apartment in the gear.
Yeah.
And everybody, no, I'm saying I'm saying what if it's just Walter? And everybody's like, hey man, hey look, we were proud of you, man. And he's just like, it isn't me. The shadow knows. They're like, hey, Walt.
Hey, man.
Take it down, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, that's, I don't even want, we could talk about this forever.
Does every episode end like this, by the way?
I don't know if I hope so or I hope not. I'm kind of on the fence on that. But what I'm saying is, and this is just, how about this? This is going to be my parting thought.
Oh, okay.
For listeners and you to think about. If that's true, if characters that are so detailed and, I don't know, there's so much intention put into the formation of this character.
Yeah.
Think about it now in terms of how easy characters can be created with such great detail.
Yeah.
Utilizing AI and what happens to them. Imagine just a sea of these individuals just living somewhere because you created them.
Well,
that's it. That was the parting thought. That's it.
Yeah. Nope. Well, we'll carry on after the show. If you like this and you also have another thought after that vexing parting thought that Woody just had, you can drop it to us over at our Instagram. If it's more long form, shoot it to thatwouldberadpod@gmail.com. join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to support the show, you can do so on our Patreon. The Rabbit Trail, it's more of what you love, a little looser than the main feed, recorded a little later. And but yeah, it's still just your good old pals, Woody and Tyler, just throwing stuff out there and contemplating the origins of the universe. Tell the friend about the show. Give us a 5-star review. It really means a lot. And I think that's about it. What do you got? Anything else? All right, pal. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. And as always,
be rad.
That's the way it goes.
Clouds in a time where I just needed some sunshine. You were already dead before you became a ghost. You always said our future would be a parade of flowers, but now all that's left is a single rose. That's the way it goes.
Access granted.
But no, do you know what I mean though? Like,
I know what you mean.
There was these things called the Bone Wars, and
come on,
hold on.
No, it's not that I don't believe you. Let's do an episode about that. Like, we gotta get rolling on this, man. I'm gonna shut it down. No more museums. Okay,
they're all from China.
God,
bones aren't real.
If people only knew, man, how difficult it is to stay on task here. Okay,
they're giant bones from Nephilim, from the Bible.